Hey, welcome back. This is the ANZ Pro League, and we're here with our Gamester friends, bringing you Abyssal Reef between Blysk and Seither, a PvT, the second one of the night, because we are #blessed. I like that we have such a mix of matchups here. I think we've only had one PvP so far, but otherwise the balance has been pretty good.
Yeah, not much of a chance of really seeing much PvP unless Legacy and Downfall both make it into the grand final, and we have Probe come out against a couple of these guys, but it's been good. Good mix of matchups. And here we go. Let's jump in and introduce our players, starting with up here in the top left. In the green, playing for Team Downfall Gaming, it's Blysk.
And sliding down to the bottom right in the blue trunks for SYF, it's Seither.
Good stuff. And you mentioned it before. The big question is, now does Seither play Mech? I feel like Hut playing Bio probably gives an indication that Seither will play Bio, because I'd imagine that they've discussed the right way to approach the matchup, and they might do some similar stuff. I could be wrong, but that's generally what you see. It's like teammates doing reasonably similar things.
Yeah, you raise a good point there. I mean, quite common for them, especially when they're practicing with each other and within the team. It's I think maybe a little bit easier to critique and give advice if you're playing the same sort of style that you're both familiar with. And both of those guys are veterans of Bio at this stage anyway. When we have seen Seither play Mech, it was like a Hellion Liberator composition up against Demi, I think it was.
On this map too, yeah.
Yeah, it's a Zerg sort of atmosphere that he's thrown that out in. And I'm keen to see if he will in fact do it here, or if he's going to stick to his guns, do what he does best with that Bio play, and I suppose time will tell.
Yeah, it's also interesting that we haven't really seen any of the one-base cheeses from Protoss players so far in this matchup, in this tournament. We haven't seen the Proxy Stargate, and we haven't seen the Proxy Robotics Bay and things like that, so they've tended to go more towards mid-game harassment, and even looking towards more the later game. Hez in that last game had a fantastic show with those Blink Stalkers, and he's always been such a good micro player. It's always beautiful to watch.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know a lot of Terrans have had a rough time against those very cheeky proxy builds and whatnot. In fact, there's some maps where people like straight up, like, I don't think you can win against this. But the Protosses have been playing a fairly solid style, even when they are cheeky. I mean, granted, we have seen a couple of can rushes, but that aside, you know, it has been very much a testament to the mechanical skill of these guys. And I think Blysk is one of those dudes that very rarely do I see him deviate from his normal play, which to me is like a 3-base sort of deal. But I feel like a number of times I've said that as well, and he's surprised me with something else. But so far, you know, everything's in his base, everything's in his standard. Let's see what he rolls with for the tech.
Oh, this is interesting. Going for a forward pylon, maybe he thinks that the mothership core is still in the game, and of course I say that in jest, but it looks quite amusing. He could go for some shield batteries on the low ground and just sit on that ramp with a Stalker and kind of have that repaired forever. The second Stalker coming up, it just runs by the bunker like it ain't no thing. And here we go. Here's a shield battery. I feel like Seither's in a little bit of a tricky spot because he's not going for a Cyclone yet. He only just started one. And Hellion's not very good against Stalkers.
No. Even Marines need some friends to take on Stalkers. They do a fair bit of damage. SCVs are helping buffer for these units at the moment. Really going to be annoying once that shield battery finishes though, because everyone knows that healing power is pretty darn good. And that's just going to make it a bit more bothersome for Seither to be able to clean this up. I mean, look at that healing! What?
That's pretty insane. Yeah, it's really insane, Zeph. And now the shield battery is getting pretty low on energy. He's only got a couple more heals left in it. Now, Blysk has done really, really nice damage here. He's only committed a little bit in terms of resources. Sure, he might lose the Stalkers if Seither can micro this SCV properly. Actually, he stuffed up completely. The SCV path through the Stalker because he sent it back to mine when he would have wanted to body block it so he could kill it. So it was a actually weird micro trick kind of going against him.
Yeah. Well, he flushed his Blysk out of his base. He lost 5 workers in the process. He's sitting at 28 SCVs to the 38 of Blysk, who is also now grabbing a bit more juicy tech here. He's got immortals on the way out, and as he showed just there, the blink coming down as well.
Seither's got a couple more of these barracks coming up. He'll be looking to harass lightly with that Liberator just before that blink finishes with the Stalkers. Might be able to get a couple of kills, maybe force some lost mining time. That'll be the dream. And more tanks coming up behind it. So he will be playing a similar style to what we saw Hut playing with that bio and tank. Interesting to see how he goes with it. Does he go up to 5 barracks like Hut did on 2 bases? Or does he try and play more towards the mid-game with a 3rd base and secure an extra bit of economy?
Yeah, time will tell. I mean, not too much out for him just yet, so we're not going to see pressure quite so soon. But the siege tanks are, of course, wonderful on this map. There's some great positions for them, and you can definitely ramp up with those 5 racks and really gun for Protoss throat. Now, this Liberator snipes 1 probe. He may actually go down before he gets too much else done. Does take out a Stalker.
Stalker and a probe, but really not a very fair trade. The
No.
Liberator didn't really do that much. I think the only good thing about it is he saw the Stalker count, got a little bit of information. The cool thing about observers now is after the new patch, you can hold position these and they will just stay locked in place. And even if you press F2 or select all of your armor units, they will not move. They'll just stay locked in place and give a lot of vision here.
The dream. Yeah, and Terrans have actually gotten pretty good at spotting those, but you know, when they're more stationary, it's difficult to see that blur sometimes. So it's either unaware of the fact that Blysk has full view, and in fact Blysk is ready to put on some damage at his opponent's base. He's got a number of Stalkers out here, 11 in fact, but with these siege tanks, whew, you gotta be careful, buddy.
Gotta be very careful. There is a great spread of siege tanks, and it looks like Blysk is going to go for it at the back. He can do a nice blink up. He can make a lot of units, but a huge tank shot just immediately takes out some of those Stalkers. Seither darts forward a little bit, only loses 1 Marine there. The engineering bay will probably go down, and Blysk will be able to deny some of those upgrades. Looking a little bit dicey here for Seither. He needs to bring all of his tanks forward, and if he can get a snipe on that War Prison, he will be in such a nice spot, but it's on a knife's edge at the moment, Seth.
Oh, that siege tank splash is so juicy. The Marine DPS is good. He blinks forward. He tries to take the siege tanks, but no.
It's just evaporated.
Oh my gosh, he mowed that down like a champion, and Blysk's attack is definitely over and done with now. And he doesn't have a 3rd base behind this. In fact, he's dropped a DT shrine.
Oh, dude, that was like Blysk comes forward. Oh yeah, he's just heating up some oil in a pan and whatnot. And then the oil gets too hot and now it's on fire. And oh god, Seither is throwing water on it, on an oil fire, and it just like explodes. And all his Stalkers were gone.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good summary of what just went down in that main base. And look how much Seither has left over in terms of army. He has 51 army supply, in fact over 26 now. Blysk does have 3 immortals in the mix, which are going to be great help to him, but he's going to be looking to maybe secure a 3rd base with this, I guess. And if Seither moves out with a big push, he's going to be hard pressed to hold on to any kind of nexus.
Yeah, the only thing I'm worried about for Seither right now is just if he keeps using his energy on mules or cooldown supplies, he might get into a little bit of strife with these Dark Templar. But honestly, Blysk doesn't have a great economy. He can only make a couple of DTs, and eventually he'll be able to scan these down. I think that Seither is in a great position here. Blysk is going too far forward. The Immortals will try and focus down some of these tanks, and he's doing a nice job of it. A lot of wounded Protoss units are still on the dance floor, and Seither will be deflected.
Wow.
That trade went just about as well as it possibly could have for Blysk.
I'm actually surprised he killed that much. I forget how beefy Immortals are sometimes, I guess. DT's starting to be a bit of a pest in the natural here, and there's more units having warped in over to the top right. Some stalkers coming in to join the fun here. These medevacs need to unload, and there's the first scan going off. He's targeting down the DT. Two Liberators march in to siege up here. They'll be able to poke not anything, in fact, because he blinks up the ramp, but Seither, once again, gets rid of those Protoss units.
He's been going like, oh, let's have a good trade, and then let's do an aggressive blink forward and lose all our stuff. And it's been going back and forth like that for the past 10 minutes, Seth. This has been a crazy game to watch so far, and hopefully Blysk can establish this third base off on the left-hand side, and we'll just keep going. But Seither does have a double drop. He might be able to put some damage on. He could go into the main if he wants to, or he could just pressure that third base, maybe look for a cancel. Blysk doesn't have a hell of a lot of vision over this left-hand side. I'm a little bit worried for him.
Man, Blysk has killed 22 workers this game. I didn't even notice.
DT is pretty strong.
Yeah,
the Stalkers at the start did a lot of work as well. Oh, here we go, though. A big stim might be able to focus down the Nexus in time, but that's a lot of Immortals coming up very quickly. Here's Zeph. The shields are now gone from the Nexus. Doesn't look like Seither wants to commit to that, and he's going to hightail it out of there.
Yeah, not going to go balls deep on that one just yet. But he's thinking about ways he can maybe do damage. Of course, Blysk having a third base up and running is not necessarily ideal for him. He's now at 62 probes up against his 48 SCVs. Still yet to have a third base of his own. Does Seither? He's just sitting on this 5 racks production instead. Massing up quite an army. He's got a few Liberators in the mix now as well. Is he actually going to grab a third CC, or is he just going for it?
I think he will end up floating out his main behind this push. He'll try and get all his army together. He's got a great army right now, like 86 army supply, tanks, Liberators, Medivacs. This is perfect. But he does need a hit pretty soon, otherwise Blysk's economy will just produce too many units for Seither to really handle. Seither also doesn't have fantastic upgrades, but then again, neither does Blysk. Yeah. He's only got +2 armor. But those Immortals could swing the tide of battle. I think that Seither's Liberator count is the scariest part about his army.
Yeah, it's going to be really hard to engage in that if Blysk can get a nice... if Seither can get a nice position. Last time he pushed, Blysk really got up in his face and moved him out of that sort of natural location before he could get set up properly. But here he's doing a similar thing. He's trying to move forward straight away, but the Liberators do siege, and a lot of these units are directly under that fire. The Bio trying to do the best that they can, but these Immortals seem to be doing work on the front lines. There are DT in the mix as well. Seither also tries to build a turret on the front lines. Does he have enough to get rid of the rest of these Protoss units, though?
Oh no, he's completely botched that attack, Zeph. The Liberator sieged up way too far in front. Way too early. The tanks were at the back. They weren't doing anything. They were completely useless for most of the fight. Seither had the units that he needed, but he just didn't have the execution, didn't have the control. Blysk caught wind of what was happening reasonably quickly, and he controlled that fight beautifully. Now he is in such a dominating position. The tides have turned.
He's looking pretty great. Moving into the mid-game well and truly now. I mean... like you said, Seither is actually going to float out that main CC and use that as a new base. Continuing to stick with his Marine, Tank, Marauder, Liberator composition, getting that +1 armor as well. But I guess the other rough thing is that Protoss have an easier time being ahead of on upgrades in general. But now he's going to be like extra ahead because level 2 ground weapons are coming in. And Seither's really only just going to be sitting on that 1-1, disregarding the fact that Blysk has 4 bases up and running, or almost up and running, and a lot of good chunky Immortals in here. He's really kept those money units doing good value. I was going to say, apparently have good English as well.
My English is always gooder, and Blysk, he's going to go for it. I'd kind of like to see him not go for an attack, because we might see him throw away his army again. He doesn't really need to attack right now. He's going up to 4 bases against the 2-base Terran. But here he goes. He's got that Warp Prism, lots of units, and Seither's in kind of an awkward position where he has to defend in so many different places at once. This main, some of those barracks might even go down if he's not careful. He needs to get that scan going. The DTs are making short work of those bio units. And over here at the third position, so Blysk was throwing away a couple of units, but doing some decent damage.
Yeah,
and
this is making this difficult, man. Oh, hey. Bit of a poke over here on Blysk's side of the map. It looks like he's
General, we have been F2A moved.
Yeah, they got stuck there. It looks like they took out a couple of workers, but nothing too drastic for Blysk. And at the moment, Blysk is sort of like making Seither choose between his favorite children. Like, he can't hold both at the same time. And as he goes into the main, Blysk blinks down into this new third base. Can Seither clean it up? He's stimming forward with a lot of Marines and Marauders. It looks like the main is being cleaned up as well. And he forces the recall out of Blysk.
Yeah, but Blysk is going to be very happy with that. Recall saves all his units. He was actually looking like, well, if they traded right then and there, Seither might have been able to win that engagement with his medivacs. It's kind of hard to tell, especially with the upgrades, because as you said before, Blysk is now up to 2-2, Seither's on 1-1, pretty behind on those, and 3-3 will come online before we know it, Zeph. Seither's down in supply. He needs to find some way to take out a base. If he can't restrict Blysk's economy in the next couple of minutes, he'll get into these awkward positions where he's a Terran with 150 supply to a maxed out Protoss. He'll be able to add in area of effect damage and just ruffle stomp him.
Yeah, nice way to put it. You will get pretty wrecked. It's just the army composition for Blysk is going to be so nice, and he's been taking good engagements. Aside from the one in the main, he's been doing pretty well. And Seither, I don't want to be negative, but he's just on struggle street for a while now. At least he does have a third CC coming up, but he doesn't have a lot of options right now. He's also not really being able to harass too much. His opponent is being very much stuck on his side of the map, defending what he has, because Blysk has been quite a pest. He's been marching across the map every couple of minutes or so, and making sure that Seither doesn't have time to sit back and relax and find his feet again.
Yeah, Seither will need to get out some ghosts and just find the money for it, take out a loan, or go and get a decent payday loan or something like that to afford those ghosts. They are a little bit cheaper now on the minerals, but they're more expensive in the gas than what they were before. But if he can get those into his army, get that Liberator count up, keep the tanks alive, and land some money EMPs, he just needs to win one fight. And I know this guy plays other games like Dota very often, and he'll have that mantra in his head, right? Like, just one good team fight. That's all I need. Then he'll be able to do it.
Yeah, well, there's already been a couple engagements in this game where it's gone a little bit pear-shaped for either player. He moves in here with a small group of units, is targeting down some probes, gets himself a High Templar as well, so this is actually doing a decent job. And these are the sort of things that'll help him get back into this game.
It's up to 26 probes killed to 43 SCVs, so that's a nice trade there from Seither. He does have the mules as well, so his economy is not too bad. The main issue is in the gas count that Blysk has. He can make so many High Templars and Archons, and he's got the upgrades at his disposal. But if Seither can just get a big fight here, like I said, get those EMPs down, actually unite his forces, get the Liberators and the tanks really in a nice position, he'll be looking pretty good. But this is looking pretty bad, Zeph, as a lot of DTs, they've even got Blink on them. He's got charge lots, upgrades, everything. And while he's doing this, luring Seither out of position, there's a huge engagement on the front lines.
And he is plunging through this force that Seither has on the front lines. Oh my goodness, the tanks are going down, the storms are just melting this bio, and there's still a lot left over. GG Blysk brings it to the 2-1 for Downfall Gaming.
Takes it out, puts Downfall in the lead, and at least guarantees us that we'll be going to a game 4, if not an ace match. We might get the maximum number of games once again tonight. Yes. And these guys, both teams are at the top of the ladder, and it would not surprise me now to see them go all the way. We could be here for another couple of hours if we have some long games.
We could be indeed. It's going to be a tough one next for Downfall by the looks of it, though. We have mentioned earlier, Mighty Kiwi is one of the toughest people to come up against on SYF and in our region in general. So I think it's going to be an uphill battle for Ice. It's definitely possible, though. So guys, as always, we'll take a couple of minutes, get Neon Violet Square ready to rock and roll, and we'll be back with you shortly.